In the old days, okay, they didn't have security.
They want to turn off the light.
What?
They want to turn off the light.
The last guy to go home is the guy selling the firewood. Why? Because everybody goes home, and they realize they don't have any kindling. Oh, I need more wood, right? I need it for the night. They go running back to the shul, hoping the guy's still there, right? The last guy to go home is the guy selling the firewood. Okay, how long does that take? It was about half an hour. By the time everybody else goes home, they get home, they realize they need more wood, they go running back to the shul, okay? And now no one else is coming, about half an hour. Therefore, in the old days, when they're lighting outside, the window of when you should light was from when the stars come up from Seitzah Kokavim, around here, around 5 o'clock, for half an hour. That was, and to be Yotzei, you really should light by then. Back then, to light past that time wasn't so pleasant. Now, there are two answers in the Gemara regarding a question where this is that explaining, it says what the shear is, and that is one explanation of the shear, is that you have to light within that half hour. There's another answer that had nothing to do with that, and therefore we say to light even if you're going to miss that half hour, but it sounds like Ikar Din that really you have to make sure to fulfill that opinion in the Gemara. You want to make sure you light within the first half hour. That's because we're lighting from Seitzah Kokavim, from when the stars come out. Now about 5 o'clock. Okay? 5 o'clock around here. So you wanted to make sure.
Tzedek Kochavim is Yetziat Shabbat.
Yeah, when Shabbos is over, about 5 o'clock now.
So you go out, you see 3 stars.
You look at the list. You don't go by what we see outside.
Okay, but what is it? 3 stars, half an hour?
Yeah, you get half an hour after. So from 5 to 5:30. In the old days, they really had to light then, because they're trying to show people on the street when they're walking by and they're going home, you're lighting your menorah. But now that things have changed and we're lighting inside, that is not such an issue anymore. Now, l'chachila, we would try to light at that time between 5 to 5:30, but if you miss it, it's not as big a deal, because and Adarabah, if I was to have a lot of people coming over at 6. It makes sense maybe to wait till 6. Like if I'm home by myself, I really shouldn't be lighting. I'm supposed to wait because I'm supposed to light when there are other people there. On the street, I don't need to have, if I'm lighting on the street, I don't need to have anybody around, because if I'm lighting early enough, I assume other people are going to walk around and see it. But if I'm lighting in my house...
What is the latest you can still...
So how late can I light? So really, anytime that night, assuming that there's people up. You're coming home very late, and everybody's asleep, so they actually say maybe you should wake up a few people and they should come and watch you light. It's not so simple to say a bracha if you don't have anybody else watching. For Suminis, it requires a few people to watch, at least one other person besides you. So,
and if someone is living by himself?
If you're living by yourself, so invite a friend. You should invite a friend to come over. So that's a halacha that's changed based on that we moved our menorahs inside. Since we're lighting for the people inside, we light for when they're around. Right? If we're lighting outside, we light for when the people outside are around. Either way, we try to light for the same half hour though. Regardless. I mean, if we're lighting outside in the old days, we try to light for half an hour. If you're lighting inside, we try to light for half an hour. Interestingly though, it would seem that if you're lighting outside and you don't put in enough oil, you want to have enough oil to last for half an hour. And in the old days, when they were lighting for the people on the street, so if you, let's say you missed it and you're light halfway through, you're lighting in 15 minutes, it sounds, it might not be such a big deal if you only put in 15 minutes of oil. There's not much point in putting much more than that.
Cans today.
I'm saying, if you only had 15 minutes worth of oil, and you lit 15 minutes late in the old days, it wasn't as big a deal, because at the end of the day, past that, there wasn't going to be anybody there anyways. Nowadays, we're lighting inside, so we try to light the full half hour. It's much more, we're much more makbid in making sure that we light for the full half hour. You have enough shear to light for. Now, back then also, you had to have enough to light for half an hour. But it would seem to be that it's not as big a deal. Okay, we'll get to shear soon. I just got into a little bit. Okay. Now, just a second. What else do we have here? What happens if you want to light early? You need to light early. There's 2 times you got to light early. Friday night is one, and one if you got to go somewhere, whatever it is. So you can light from Plag Mincha. Around this time of year, it's about 4 o'clock, yeah? This is around 4. So if you Friday for sure we light. Right, Shabbos comes, don't light menorah. You light.
So when you're lighting the menorah on
Friday, you're lighting somewhere between 4 and candle lighting for. I think
the light is 4:20, 4:30.
Right, you don't have much time.
What?
Yeah, you don't have much time. I'll just check just a second.
4:30.
Why is it kosher?
4:28.
Plag mincha, I have at 3:49 or 4:46, so it's about 3:49. Yeah, that's what we have for Norfolk. Maybe over here it's a little bit different. We're a little bit further east. I have about 3:49, right? So for 3:49 at 3:49 already, you can start lighting around 3:50. You want to push it off. You don't want to light before plag. If you light before plag, you're not going to say really, right? Because you don't really have shaykhs. Also, when you wanna once you light after plag, you already have shaykhs to light. What is plag? Plag mincha is as follows. There's mincha gedola, mincha ketana. Mincha gedola was at 12, if 6.5 hours into the day. At 6.5 hours into the day, that's the earliest you could bring the korban tamid. Shabbein Arbayim. Really, technically, you could bring it after Chatzos, but they couldn't really tell in the base of Mikdash so easily when Chatzos was. They could tell at 6.5 hours. Why? Because the walls were slanted. Right? The walls were slightly slanted so that they would stand. If they were very tall. If they were exactly parallel, right, all the way up, so it wouldn't be good. They might fall. So they made them a little bit pyramidal shaped, or like a trapezoid. And so for when the sun went overhead from one side to the next, the shadows aren't going to move to the other side until an extra half an hour. So that's why they never brought the korban tamid before 12:30. I'm not 12:30. I mean 6.5 hours. We're going to call it. It shows monios. Now the hours we're talking about here are if we're starting from sunrise to sunset, right? And divide that time into 12 hours. So it changes depending on what time of year you're in. Right? Mincha ketana was at 9.5 hours into the day. If you take from that, that's when they generally brought the korban tamid. They wanted to give you time, normally, to bring your other korbanos. Once you brought the korban tamid, you're done for most korbanos. After that, you're not going to bring anything else. Erev Pesach, they brought it early because the korban Pesach had to be brought after the korban tamid, and they weren't. All the other korbanos will have to wait. Right? They want to have time for the korban Pesach. But on a normal day, they brought it around mincha ketana time, 9.5 hours. Take from there until Shkia, another 2.5 hours. Divide that in half. That's plag mincha, half a mincha. That's 10.75 hours into the day. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, from that point on, already is technically can be considered part of night, which is why we daven Marav early, right? Especially Friday, early Friday. We daven early sometimes in the summer, right? How can you daven Marav early? The sun isn't going to set. Where are the stars? It's not nighttime. Why are you davening Marav? Because we hold, like Rabbi Yehuda, we try to be consistent daven mincha earlier than that, right? That we can already consider that part of the nighttime. That's why you can light Shabbos candles then also, from that time. If you light before then it's definitely day, according to everybody. And so you light your Shabbos candles way, way too early. It has no shaykhus yet to nighttime. Actually, nice stuff to think about it. That explanation doesn't make sense for Shabbos candles. Okay, let's leave Shabbos candles up. But your menorah, at least, also, you should light after plag mincha. So if you have to go somewhere, so you light after plag mincha. If you have to go earlier than that, so then you have to send a shliach, send a messenger. If your wife's going to be home, she'll light for you. If you do light early, you have to make sure you put in enough oil or candles that are big enough to last all the way through until you get to a half an hour after tzeis. Right? You want to wait for that whole share because you're trying to have the candles lit at that time. So Me'ikar Din, you want to make sure that you have at least one of them should be large enough, if it's a candle, or enough oil that's going to last that long. And that should be the first one you lit because technically the Ikar mitzvah is only one. You want that first one you lit, that's already technically fulfilled the mitzvah. You want that to be the one that's going to last long enough.
Rabbi, let's put a little bit of order.
Yeah.
So you said the best is 5 to 5:30.
Yes.
That's it. On Friday between 4 and 4:30.
Between 4 and 4:30. But yeah.
More or less. And
just
then,
make sure they're bigger.
What is the latest you can at 2 a.m. in the morning? Can you leave the candle?
If everybody comes home at 2 a.m., you were driving in and you have to tell people up, yeah, technically. Not great.
עכשיו באת ב-10 בלילה הביתה.
נחתתי
נחת ב-11 בלילה.
צריך להעיר מישהו
אתה
מפני
צריך
הבית.
להעיר מישהו מהבית שיראה איתך, אתה זה לא פחות.
את אשתי תזרוק עליי משהו.
It's not great, but
תביא את
yeah.
החברה, אתה לא חייב בקשה.
What is the earliest you can...
That's earliest.
If you're leaving.
If you're leaving, same time for Friday.
I have to leave at...
About 4 o'clock.
I,
Just leave it at 4.
I need to leave at 2 p.m. at the house and I'm not coming.
Good, so have your wife flight.
She's not, she's traveling with me. Nobody's going to stay at home at this
So is anybody home? You're leaving your kids at home?
חנוכת כיס.
Everyone is traveling.
Everybody's been traveling, you don't have a home. That's a very interesting question. So, actually, if you're homeless,
I'm traveling to
if you're homeless, it's not so posh that you let him know.
That's why you say in the Torah,
Yeah,
no good the man by yourself. You know, he said, לא טוב עכשיו אדם לבדו. No, forget, לא טוב.
invited to an event in DC. I need to leave...
Not so simple. Ask your local roof.
Okay, what...
I told you, we're just doing basics.
What is the solution?
Depends on the situation. It's not complicated. Get down there, you're getting to real complicated cases.
לא, אני צריך עכשיו מוזמן לאירוע בוושינגטון.
So it depends. Depends what time you're going to be getting there. Depends where you're staying.
בשתיים אני צריך לעזוב את הבית.
Are you going to be on the road the whole night?
בשתיים בצהריים? אז מה אני עושה, אני מדלג על יום?
Don't go.
לא, אתה מדליק שם, או שאשתך...
אין, כל המשפחה...
He says his wife's going with him.
משפחה נוספת?
אין, אף אחד
אתה צריך שם, אתה צריך להדליק שם.
He can lit up wherever he goes.
What?
He can lit up wherever he goes.
Yeah, it's not so simple. Maybe it depends. There are a lot of variables. If you ever have the case, so...
Let me ask you
אבל
something.
אשתך יכולה להדליק איפה שהיא
If I have
תהיה.
a business, right? And I'm lining a menorah in my business. So I can do it again in my house too? Or no?
No, don't light in your business. Why are you lighting your business? You're supposed to light in your
או
house.
שתשמע הדלקה.
You're not supposed to do that?
No, you're supposed to light in your house.
So no
ברכה, אתה יכול
necessarily.
להדליק אבל בלי ברכה.
או אפשר להשתתף בפרוטה, לא?
להדליק בלי ברכה?
Yeah, you can do that too.
You can do it in business without a ברכה.
You're like one of those guys who doesn't have a house.
לא, You can do it in business without a ברכה.
No, that's not possible. Where's he staying? No, you can only use a pruta if you're staying there. Well, he's going to be in a hotel? He's going to be on the road in a plane?
אתה הולך להוטל?
No, if you're a guest somewhere, so then you're statif. But if you're going to be on a plane, so...
No, hotel is no.
No, there's nothing, then you're stuck.
He's going to see Obama.
Interesting halacha. If you're traveling, let's say you're on a bus, you're gonna be there the whole night. If you drive by, you see menorah, you say Shas and Nisim.
What they're doing, religious people, when they're on a flight from Israel to New York,
Not simple.
they're doing a menorah in the airplane.
It's not simple. Good luck. Not happening.
Now we're leaving Bezat Hashem on Wednesday.
Yeah.
To Miami. I'm going to my in-laws. I can lit up.
מיאמי,
Yeah.
וושינגטון.
When you get there, yeah, you're staying there. So
Yeah, but I'm gonna lit it up by myself. I don't need to wait for my father to lit up. Right? In your
No, no.
By myself. For my family.
I don't know because it's Friday, so you go by your. It goes by. But you're getting there separate. You're getting after they light.
Sorry?
They're getting there after they light. Or you're getting there before.
No, I'm getting there like the second day.
No, but I'm saying, what time are you getting
I'm
there?
getting there daylight.
You're getting during daylight.
Yeah.
אתה מוזמן תמיד.
So I mean, you might say you've been biased for the day, no?
איפה שאני נמצא אתה מוזמן תמיד.
You're eating other food, you're living there, so it's like you move back in. So you go by your father. I don't know what's right. Everybody lights by us. I don't know how well you do.
My father.
Your father-in-law. Okay, even more you're living off of it, yeah.
I'm good with them.
I don't know.
So anyway, I need to make him to lit up.
I don't know.
And what was the
Rabbi,
question?
this is problem, no?
What?
Not shamash.
לא, על הביזנס. בסדר, אז אני אדליק בלי ברכה.
לא שמש.
רגע, צריך ברכה גם בעסק, אם יש לו עסק, לא, אם יש לו עסק, הוא לא יכול לעשות גם בעסק וגם בבית.
בלי ברכה.
רק על להתענר. שיראו, על המצווה שיראו את זה שזה...
הראשון צריך להיות שמש.
אבל ראית איך מה אמרתי לו? את השם בטוטק
Okay, it's not referring.
זה עם האוהל?
Near mitzvah still in good standing. Near mitzvah still.
או, ביוטיפול.
זה עם האוהל?
הרב קבע
Okay.
כמה.
you buy it from me?
אני צריך לקנות לך בגלל זה בניו יורק.
תעביר רגע את ה...
Okay, come. Let's go. Fine. What should you light?
You need to drink water or something?
Nothing. Okay. First of all, just a little schmooze. Once you light it, if you light everything proper, if it goes out, you don't have to relight it.
What?
If it goes out, you light everything properly. You put enough oil, you put it in the right place, it wasn't windy, the fire took, it was all good. right? And then some kids go running by and the wind goes and blows it out. You don't have to relight. You're done. Lechatchila you should. What?
Less than a minute to lit up.
If it was lit for real and it goes out, you don't have to relight it. What's the schmooze? You don't have to finish it, right?
What do you mean?
You have to start. That's the schmooze. The halacha is made to teach us. You have to do your part. You did your part. I lit it. I made sure everything was right. At the end of the day, it went out. Once it goes out, you don't have to relight it.
And if I want to relight
If you want to relight it, call a kebab. You should. Right? Obviously not Friday.
because on Friday you're not allowed to do.
Right. So, but that affects, because of that halacha, that affects what we're allowed to use to light. If we had to relight it, then the chachila I have to use something that's going to stay lit very well. But since I don't have to relight it, therefore I can use an oil that will probably last, but not so guaranteed.
The wick is like going like fast, you know, like in
Okay, that's what, the point is that if we had to relight it, then that would affect what oils we use. Because I don't have to relight it, therefore there are many more options of what I'm allowed to use. Right? Oils that don't work so well are okay to use. Right? Just have to be reasonable that it would last. So pretty much you can use whatever oil you want, and the chachila, we say you should have something that makes a nice flame. Right? What makes the nicest flame? They say olive oil. But you can have lamp oil also. That makes a nice flame. I personally am very wary of it because it looks like water, tastes like water, and is dangerous for the kids. Right? But I don't like leaving it around. But technically it makes a nice flame also. But then we have another part, another aspect of lighting olive oil is that you fulfill that the mitzvah was of the menorah was always fulfilled with olive oil. So that's another reason you should use olive oil.
We're buying the whole kit. So
Yeah, you buy the whole kit, olive oil. You do all these different things with it. So l'chachila you should olive oil. But and Shulchan Aruch says if you want to use candles, it's also considered a good light. I mean, they had tallow candles, but paraffin candles give a fine light, so you can light that. But l'chachila still, you should use olive oil. But you shouldn't feel bad if you have to use candles. If I have a mix, I don't have enough oil, and I have some candles, you shouldn't mix. That you shouldn't do. Very simply, why? I assume the reason is because people are going to be confused. They're going to think two people lighting there. Right? And one person's lighting one type, one person lighting another. And now it looks very confusing. You want to show that you're lighting the menorah for the right number of days. You should be consistent in what you're lighting. Just like we want it along one row, so you should be consistent about what you light.
So candles are good?
Candles are good, but don't mix candles and oil.
What?
Don't mix it.
Candles and oil don't mix. Okay. Fine.
So shemen is mishubach?
Now, as far as wicks, now different people in the house, if you have more than one person lighting in the house, so then one person can use oil, one person uses candles, that's all fine. Wicks, so you can use anything you want for wicks, but they recommend cotton or linen, right? But the truth is, any good wick material. They did a lot of science in making wicks nowadays.